Meditate, manifest, invest in you. Join me on my spiritual journey as I elevate myself and like-minded listeners to a higher level mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for listening. This is Black Hippie Lounge, and I am your host, Chanel. Good evening. So I usually have the recording done earlier, but today I just had some things to do, but also was taking like a self-care day, just taking the time to relax for myself. But I felt like I wanted to do an episode still. And I'm still reading this book that I read from last week. And this week, today's September 27th. So the message for today, and this episode probably won't be as long as usual, just checking in. But today's message is titled "I Am Accountable." Ooh, a word. Okay, so emotional maturity means being humbly accountable for your actions and emotions. In Judaism, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, is observed around this time. The tradition is that you search your heart to admit when you have wronged someone and then take the responsibility for your part of a situation. You compassionately review where you might have fallen short, been uncaring, or even intentionally caused harm. The raw honesty of these admissions will help free you from carrying the burden of these acts. In addition, you can make amends whenever possible. So in this spirit of clearing bad karma, review your previous year and be courageously accountable. For instance, you can say inwardly or aloud or write in your journal, I am accountable. I have hurt people. I have caused harm. I have been self-absorbed. I have been miserly. I have not loved with all my might. Feel free to fill in whatever statements apply to you. Taking responsibility can help you release negativity and set a compassionate tone for the year ahead. So, sorry about my reading. I don't know why my brain and my mouth aren't clicking. But anyway, just to break it down, emotional maturity means being humbly accountable for your actions and emotions. And that's definitely something that comes with growth as an adult. I know we've all probably been there where we've done things or hurt other people and felt like we didn't have to really, or we didn't take accountability for what we did, because I feel it's a part of growth, spiritual growth, of like releasing your ego, because it's easy to get offended in a sense, or like not want to take accountability for hurting someone, because we associate doing so with being a bad person or being viewed as a bad person. So it's hard to take accountability, because that means that would be admitting to the fact that you hurt someone, and then you would tend to feel that you're a bad person for doing so, when in reality, as humans, you're going to hurt people, in whether on purpose or by accident. It's just the act of taking accountability for doing so actually frees you from holding on to that burden of feeling like you're quote unquote bad, or you did something bad. But that's a lesson that has to be learned throughout life, is like how important it is to take accountability for your actions and the things that you do, and how it can not only help the person that you're taking accountability for hurting, but also for yourself. So, that comes with growth. And it's definitely something that, unfortunately, some people never are able to do. So just, it's important to really take accountability for your actions, take accountability for the role that you play in things, and do your best to just do better. That's really all you can do as a human. Nobody knows everything, nobody on earth knows everything, but if you're at least willing to take accountability for your actions and explore what it is that you've done and how to do better the next time, then that's taking great steps right there alone. So I like the idea of what it said about the tradition of searching your heart to admit when you've wronged someone, and then you take responsibility for your part of a situation. So it's not saying that, if something goes wrong, that you go, oh, oh, it's all on me. Like, no one's saying it has to be all on you unless it literally was your fault. It's just being able to recognize that, it's like for example, a relationship. If the relationship goes bad, it's easy for us to just blame the other person, but that doesn't help you, because you're not allowing yourself to learn the role that you played in the downfall of the relationship, which in turn could just allow you to carry on the same actions to the next relationship that you enter, and you're literally just stunting your growth, and you're not allowing yourself to really reach your full potential within a relationship, because you're carrying on the same bad things that you were doing in the previous relationship. So another thing, again, like taking accountability and knowing that, okay, in my last relationship, I did this and that. So the next time I know I need to do things a little bit better. It's things like that, again, taking accountability. Again, you don't have to sit there and bash yourself as a bad person. It's more just, saying that, I did these things, and next time I'll do better. It's always about making sure you do better. That's really what it's about. Making sure you're always evolving and doing better, because you deserve that. So, yeah. The other thing I wanted to say, okay, let's see. The raw honesty of these admissions will help for you from carrying the burden of these acts. Like I was saying, you don't want to carry the burden of hurting someone, and having to deal with multiple instances where you're now unpacking so many bags of burden that it gets in the way of you being happy. And in addition, you can make amends whenever possible. That's very true. Always, if you weren't accountable when it happened, if it takes you a month, 2 months, months, years, as long as you apologize, the person will appreciate it. They might not be able to show that because of maybe how long time has gone by, but it's just the act of doing it more so for yourself. It's for yourself, but it's also for the other person. But just making sure you do the right thing, basically. And people appreciate, even if you do them wrong, they appreciate you taking accountability for it, rather than just brushing it off as if it's that person's fault, and like now you can go run off into the sunset, and you're like just not a bad person, or you didn't do anything wrong. You can be respected more for taking accountability than you can for not taking accountability and thinking that you can just do things your own way all the time, because that's another way where you're going to come across karma. What goes around comes around. You keep playing around and doing people wrong, and you think that nothing's going to happen to you. You are very much confused. The universe does not play. It will bring you back. And that's what this says right here. So in the spirit of clearing bad karma, right, you want to clear your bad karma. And sometimes people who live their lives like that, where they never take accountability, those are the people that make me laugh, because they always, when things hit the fan for them, then all of a sudden they're, a spokesperson for accountability and running around and throwing out apologies left and right, and thinking that that's going to save them, when 9 times out of 10, you can't even be saved, because you're not doing it because you want to really apologize. You're doing it to save your own self. So again, your accountability has to be rooted in honesty and purity, in the sense of you're doing it to really apologize to the other person, not because you just don't want to seek bad karma for yourself, if that makes any sense. So I think it's a good idea of what it was saying about writing down things like, I am accountable, I've hurt people. You don't have to write a whole list of all the bad things that you've done. It's just really, like I said, it's just being accountable and just saying, hey, you know what? Maybe I wasn't the best person in this relationship, or maybe I wasn't the best person, or I wasn't the best friend, or I wasn't the best daughter or sister, whatever. And I'm sorry for that. I'm not perfect, and I know you know that I'm not perfect, but I'm sorry for that. And I just want to acknowledge that at least. That you don't understand how much sometimes that can just be such a relief to the person that you hurt. So another thing it says, feel free to feel. Okay, sorry. Taking responsibility can help you release negativity and set a compassionate tone for the year ahead. So yeah, taking responsibility can definitely help you release negativity, and it can open the door for you to be more compassionate. Because as humans, when we do something wrong, even if we don't take accountability for it, you will have that guilt, and it can interfere with your next relationship or the way that you handle things. And being able to do things the right way, quote unquote, is important. So yeah, making sure you take accountability is very important, because it just sets the tone for your future and for your next move. You don't want to move. You don't want to move in guilt. You don't want to move in any type of negativity. You want to move in positivity and allow yourself to embrace all the blessings that the universe has for you. So in doing so, being accountable, you learn a lesson, you take the lesson, and you move to the next step. It's that simple. But when you don't take accountability, you're like in between the lesson and learn and like making that next step, and usually you could potentially mess up your blessings because you didn't learn the lesson, and then you might do repeated behavior, which will bring you backward, which still you're just going through a bad cycle of like repeated bad behavior, not receiving the reward that you want, and then going back to having to deal with the lesson again and again. So again, like I said, accountability is everything, and it comes with emotional maturity, being able to be humble and say, I was wrong. Sometimes people have a hard time with that. I know I used to too. It's hard to admit that you were wrong if you're usually right, or you feel that you're usually right. Or if someone else did you wrong and then, you're hurting someone else when you don't even really mean to, but you're still carrying that burden of the other person hurting you. It's just like a repeated cycle. It's like a repeated bad energy that you give on to the next person. Whereas like I said, if someone takes accountability for hurting you, then you won't be able to carry that pain with you in your next step. And also apologize to yourself too. And take accountability for the role that you play in things as well. So set your intention. I am accountable for the hurt I might have caused others. I will admit my shortcomings and stay mindful of how my actions affect others. I want to become a more loving and aware person. So that intention is great because it's saying I want to be accountable for the hurt I've caused people, even if you didn't mean to, or even if you felt like what you didn't necessarily in your eyes hurt someone. You have to be mature enough to say, okay, even if I don't feel that I hurt you, since this person is feeling like I hurt them, I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for whatever I might have done to cause you harm. It's like just saying that, like I said, it can really relieve someone of feeling like they've been hurt or taken advantage of or something like that. So that's definitely very important to do. And I will admit my shortcomings and stay mindful of how my actions affect others. So that's like, again, admit what you did, understand what you did, seeing how it can help hurt someone else, and try to avoid it in the future, whether with the same person or someone else. I'm sorry, the neighborhood is bumping right now with Puerto Rican music. So, anyway, I want to become a more loving and aware person. So that's a good intention to set, because it's saying, I want to be more loving. I want to be more aware of what I do to myself and to others, and allow myself to love and receive love and the benefits that come with it. So That's very important too, to recognize for yourself. Um, and again, I'm being accountable for your own feelings, accountable. We have to remember, we have to be accountable for our own hearts. Nobody, it's no one's responsibility to guard your heart except for you. It's hard because sometimes you feel like, okay, if I fall in love with this person, that they should, have my best interest in mind, and they should never try to hurt me, and maybe they won't, but maybe they will. But it's your responsibility to make sure you take accountability for your emotions, your heart, and your life, so that no one can mess it up. Um, so being more loving and aware of the person that you are, and what type of person you are to other people, it's a game changer. It can really make or break how you choose to move in relationships, how you choose to interact on day-to-day interactions, along with, like I said, more personal relationships. um, so yeah, I feel like this is an important message, because you come across people who just don't have that emotional maturity yet, and aren't able to be humble and take accountability for their actions and their emotions, and then they in turn just end up potentially ruining relationships, or just having unnecessary issues come about because they don't have the ability to step back and say, okay, what role am I playing here for this thing to go wrong? What am I doing, and what can I do differently to get a different outcome? That's really what it is. It's like, what can I do differently to get the outcome that I'm looking for, because this way isn't working. Um, so yeah, I feel like, and then again, like I said, it comes with emotional maturity, it comes with maturity in general, and being accountable is such a respectable thing. A person who can be accountable for their actions can be way more respected than someone who just goes around blaming everybody else for stuff, or who doesn't take the time to say, okay, what can I do differently in this situation to make things work? Or again, like I said, the question to keep saying is, what role am I playing here? What can I do to make things better? It's really that simple. It's better not just for me, but for the people that are involved. Um, because that's really, if that's what you're really trying to be, is like a loving person and everything like that, then you have to learn how to take accountability, um, for your actions, and how you interact with other people, and how you make other people feel. Um, so yeah, that's really all I had to say. Is just that little quick message about accountability. We could think of so many different things that are going on today where accountability is an issue. Something, whether it's something serious as you know the Breonna Taylor situation, and the government, or just the police taking responsibility for the role that they played in her death. Um, that's an important thing that brings about accountability, and how just we have all these cases of Black lives being taken away unlawfully, and there's no accountability coming about from the people who caused this harm, on these families and these victims. Are there's no accountability being taken for. There's no accountability being taken for by the law forces, and how it's affecting everyone around them. You can think about this whole Tory Lanez, this clown, not taking accountability for what he did in this situation with Meg Thee Stallion, and then turning around and making like a whole 17 song album, whatever you want to call it, about the situation, making light of it. Just there's so many different things that happen on a day-to-day basis, where so many adults, quote unquote adults, who don't take accountability for their actions. You'd be surprised how many people are like that. And it's sad. It's really sad. So again, just making sure you're checking in with yourself and making sure that you practice accountability and that you practice, just taking the time to step back and seeing certain situations in your life and asking yourself, am I being the best person that I can be in this situation? Am I thinking of how my actions or my words or my choices are affecting not only myself, but the other people involved in the situation or in my life? And am I doing the best to make sure that I apologize when I'm wrong? Or, if I made a mistake, or if I am doing things in a way that I thought was right, and if someone was offended by it, do I apologize or do I argue? Do I always play the victim and blame everybody else for things, or do I stand up and say, all right, you know what, you're right, I was wrong? That something like that, you will be surprised how many people that are adults that have a hard time saying something as simple as that. You were right, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Or just that simple phrase, I'm sorry. People will literally choke like they about like you just ate a what's it called? A Popeye's biscuit with no water or no type of drink. That's how much they're choking on the fact of saying a simple word of I'm sorry. Or they wait till it's too late to apologize. Um, so it's like you have to get into that practice of being able to apologize for your actions. And it is a humbling experience. I'm telling you, that's like to be able to apologize is humble. It's humbling because again, you have to admit that you're wrong, which in turn can bruise your ego. But that's all about spirit. That's all about growth as a human and as an adult of learning how to release the ego and be in tune with your soul and be in tune with who you really should be as a person. Um, and it's all a process. It's a give and take. It's a live and learn. It's a pass fail. You're gonna mess up sometimes, but just knowing if you have that as a goal, that's like the first step. Is just learning how to be more accountable for your actions and what you do and what you say to others. It could be definitely respected and commendable to do so, and it's a good thing to practice. So I guess checking out, I would just say learning how to we just make sure we still remain accountable for our actions and our words and how we choose to live our lives and what we do to family, friends, and others that we come across on a day-to-day basis, and be humble in our experiences and take accountability for your life because it's yours, and you can't blame anybody, no matter what things go on in your life and how people might do you. At the end of the day, it's very important to remember that your life is your life, and you're responsible for the things that happen in your life, the things that you allow in your life. And it's not always easy to remember to live like that and to think like that, but you have to remember that nobody got you like you do, and nobody is responsible for you like you should be responsible for yourself. So again, just be easy on yourself, remain humble, take accountability when you do wrong, and learn how to just learn from experience and learn how to do right the next time. And don't be too hard on yourself. Nobody's perfect. No one should be expecting you to be perfect. It's just, like I said, accountability is everything as an adult, because you're learning to say, I was wrong, but next time I'll be right. It's really what it is. I was wrong this time, but next time I'll be right, because I know better now. When you know better, you do better. So, I hope everyone is having a good evening and had a good weekend and get a good start to the beginning of your week. I don't know if anybody's been watching Lovecraft Country, but that show is getting more wild and wild by the episode. So I'm very excited for tonight's episode. If you don't watch it, you get into it because it's a good show. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great week. Have a good night. And as always, this is Chanel, your host of Black Hippie Lounge, and meditate, manifest, invest in you.